Indonesia has been rocked by a major 7.3 magnitude quake hours after the magnitude 6.6 struck Australia. And now we know definitely the Ring of Fire activity is rising. So here we are in the Indonesia location. This is Google Earth. And you remember yesterday we had two major earthquakes, one in the Philippines and one in Japan. And now we have this. The 7.3 struck today, no tsunami warning, and it was followed by two aftershocks about an hour or two later of 5-something magnitudes. And of course, this is not at all far from where the Australia quake struck in Broome, right here. Let me pull out so you can see the area. Broome, Australia, here on the southwest area. It looks fantastic. It's right on the coast and a small community. You know, this area is not that populated, but this is Papua New Guinea that gives us the big earthquakes and has the volcanoes going off. This is, of course, the Ring of Fire. And this is what we pinned yesterday at the Philippine earthquake and the Japan in the Okinawa, the 6.6. So this whole thing, as you can see, I would venture to say, of course, they're related. They're in a straight line with each other, having to do with, I guess, whatever mantle plume is moving around down there. And when you have such big, strong, these are called major earthquakes, and especially this 7.3. Now, we'll look at it closely, but this is a series of aftershocks, of course, that followed, as we'll see. 5.1 magnitude about 50 minutes after the 7.3 struck. They were followed by a minute later by 5.3, and third shock of 5.7 about an hour later. More aftershocks followed, including 5 magnitude about 2 hours later, and a 4.8. No immediate reports of damages or casualties in the quake. No reports of infrastructure damage yet. And people, however, of course, are panicking, running out of their houses because 7.3, you can imagine, is a major quake. Some people who live near the ocean, of course, started to move to high ground, thinking that they would get as you can see, it's surrounded by water. It's a peninsula, a very thin peninsula, and the epicenter was recorded in the city of Ternate, the largest island of the North Maluku, located on the eastern side of the country. So you can see how shallow, how tight of a peninsula it is. Right there, wow, let's see. Come on then, come on, let's go. What's going on? It doesn't want to go on. Let's go again. Am I doing something wrong? Come on. Oh, for goodness sakes. Let's try this side. Okay, that's 14 miles. 14 miles width, so you can imagine. I want to go to show you the, okay, this is it here on USGS. Okay, the Indonesia quake was at 10-kilometer depth. You remember that this area is basically very shallow, so of course it's in the mantle and the area of the Molucca Sea. And let's see if we have any tectonic summaries. There's Australia right there. Okay. I would venture to say that they would also have the same thing for Australia. Broome, Australia, the 6.6 quake, and regional information. Sorry, what's happening? Let's go back. Broome, regional information. Okay, I would venture to say it's the same exact area as we can see here. Now, of the region, it's the Australia Pacific Plate boundary, over 4,000 kilometers long, on the northern margin from the Sunda Java Trench to the west to the Solomon Islands in the east. And well, no, this is Solomon Islands around here. Okay. The eastern section is over 2,300 kilometers long, extending west from northeast of the Australian continent, northeast of the Australian continent right here, and the Coral Sea until it intersects the east coast of Papua New Guinea, which is right here. The boundary is dominated by the general northward subduction of the Australian plate. So that's what's hitting here and messing things up very badly. Along the southern Solomon Trench, the Australian plate converges with the Pacific plate at the rate of 95 millimeters a year. We know that, we just mentioned that the subduction zone on the west coast is about 38 in the area of Seattle, and this is 95. That's pretty fast. Seismicity along the trench is dominantly related to the subduction tectonics, and large earthquakes, of course, are common. There have been 13 magnitude 7.5 earthquakes recorded since 1900. On April 1st, 2007, a magnitude 8.1 interplate megathrust earthquake occurred at the western end of the trench, generating a tsunami. And this was the third 8.1 magnitude megathrust event associated with this subduction zone in past 100 years. The other two occurred in 1939 and 1977. Farther east of the New Britain Trench, the relative motions of several microplates surrounding Australia-Pacific boundary, including north-south oriented seafloor spreading at the Woodlark Basin south of the Solomon Islands, maintain the general northward subduction of Australia-affiliated lithosphere beneath the Pacific-affiliated lithosphere. Most of the large and great earthquakes in the east of New Guinea is here, we said, east is here, are related to the subduction. Such earthquakes are particularly concentrated at the cusp of the trench of New Ireland. 33 magnitude 7.5 earthquakes have been recorded since 1900, including 3 shallow thrust fault magnitude 8.1 events in 1906, 1919, and 2007. The western end of the Australia-Pacific plate boundary is perhaps the most complex portion of the boundary. The western end, as I said, extending 2,000 kilometers from Indonesia and the Banda Sea to eastern New Guinea. The boundary is dominated converging along the arc continent collision segment spanning the width of New Guinea, but the regions near the edges of the impinging Australian continental margin also include relatively short segments. Now, as I'm reading this, you can read, I'll leave a link, you can read the rest. Large earthquakes in eastern Indonesia occur frequently, but interplate megathrust events related to subduction are rare. This is likely due to the disconnection of the descending oceanic slab from the continental margin. There have been 9 7.5 plus magnitude earthquakes recorded from the Kai Islands to Sumba since 1900. The largest was the Great Banda Sea earthquake, 1938, of 8.5 magnitude, an intermediate depth thrust faulting, the event that did not cause significant loss of life. You know what I'm thinking now, right? Let's pan out. You know what's around the Australian plate. It's this Australian plate, and you can see it. This is it. This is the area that we're talking about. Okay, this is where we had the area that we had our earthquake, right there. And this is the whole thing right here. And this is what I'm talking about, the edge of the Australian plate. And this is where, of course, there are both islands, New Zealand, North Island and South Island, have been preparing their population for mega thrust, mega quakes, anything around 8 or 9 magnitude Richter. And we've also had the recent quake, the big ones, thank goodness, hitting offshore, off North Island, in this area right here. Of course, I don't know. Is it going to hit here? I have no idea how that works. But this area, all the way from up north here, Osaka, Japan, yesterday 6.6, and Philippines 6.2, and then we had this 7.3 and the 6.6, all within a day. All of this happened within one day. And I've already told you about the video before this one, having to do with this quake here. Our area around the Columbia River, when we're talking about the low-frequency Longview, which is right there at the Oregon coastal block of the Cascadia Arc, which is of course being hit and by the propagating Walker Lane fault system, which nobody has referred to yet. I'm sure they know. It's just that they don't want people knowing. They did tell us about the Ridgecrest quakes, that they were in two different faults. But this is what we found out, that you can even see it here from all the way up here. That is it. Walker Lane fault. And it goes directly this way, goes out, right there, Wonderfuku Plate, and it propagates north towards the Cascadia Arc subduction zone. And of course, that there, today's low frequency, it was 2 days ago, low frequency Longview earthquake is right next to Mount St. Helens, not far from Mount Hood. Both Mount Hood has had like 27, I think, yesterday, 27 quakes, I can't remember. But 80 quakes on this past month in 30 days, over 80 quakes for Mount St. Helens. And you can see the video before this one, because that's a major activity on the West Coast as well. And we'll look at what happened with Ridgecrest, because, you know, they usually have like something like 1,500 earthquakes every day. So that's the latest here. No tsunami warning. And I hope that's the end of it, and it's not that they're not foreshocks. Anyway, I'll keep you informed, and I'll give you the details on this. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.